And, of course, right now on the telephone we have Gary DeCarlo of Steam. How you doing, Gary?
I'm doing great. Man. How are you doing, Rick?
I can't complain.
Yeah.
Now, I got to ask you, there's a whole bunch of questions. Of course, we're talking about the big #1 song you guys had back out in 1969 called Na 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 Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye.
Right.
Yeah. Steam really wasn't a band back in those days, was it?
No, actually, the guys that went on the road with the record were a road group. They were hired to go out and sing, and they got the credit, and I didn't.
That's a shame, man, because it's your voice. It's your voice on the recording, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You in a band called the Chateaus, maybe?
That was a doo-wop group years ago. That was before I went into New York City on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And, those were friends of mine that I hung out with, and they had one guy leaving the group, and they asked me if I would try out, and I said absolutely. And actually, we had 3 names. We were the Glenwoods, we were the Citations, mm-hmm. and we were the Chateaus.
Oh, okay.
We were from the Bridgeport area, all of us.
And Bridgeport, Connecticut, of course.
Yes,
very close to the city. That must have been an exciting time back then in the late '60s. Or actually, you guys got together while you were in high school or something like that.
Well, no, not really. I mean, Dale and I, we hung around at a hot dog stand that was near Glenwood Avenue. That's how I got the name. But I at the time I was young. I was maybe 16 or so, and I was delivering auto parts. Uh-huh. And one of the countermen, which was Joe Reed, was in the group. And Joe knew that I was crazy about singing, and when the guy was leaving, he mentioned it to me, and he said, would you like to try out? And I said, absolutely, man. So when I tried out, they accepted me, and and that kind of started it. But I was involved in music before that. I started at a young age playing drums. My cousin had given me a set of drums. I always wanted to be a singer, and eventually that's what led to this.
Yeah, there's a rumor out there that Na 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 was actually not the A side of the record you were recording at the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a rumor. That's true. What happened was I had recorded 4 sides for Mercury, and Working on a Groovy Thing was supposed to be my A side.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened was the Fifth Dimension beat me by 1 week. They put theirs out a week before mine.
Yikes.
Yeah, and so we had to go back to the drawing board, and who wrote Rhinestone Cowboy, mm-hmm. and it was called Sweet Lauralee. It was a ballad, which I really didn't want to lead with. Mm-hmm. But, the company and my management said, yeah, we wanted this. So Nana became the B-side of that.
Well, it was sort of a throwaway song, was it not? I mean, you kind of recorded it.
No. That concept didn't come into play until later on. Paul felt that that the record would not, the B-side would not get heard, which, to me is absurd, because we got the Beatles out of #1, and they had a 2-sided hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was, as a matter of fact, that was the beginning of the end for the Beatles in many ways, because right after '69, they sort of broke up.
Yeah, but my only point was that why did the record have to be split in the first place?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It should have gone out the way it was, and I was told that I could do both. Mm-hmm. When they split it, they said to me, Gary, don't worry about it. We're splitting this, but you can still be both acts.
Oh, yeah? Here we go.
Yeah, and then when they both started to happen, then it was a different ballgame. The record company wants to know where your group is. Mm-hmm. And all this time that was going on, Paul was saying to me, don't worry about a group, don't worry about the guys that you used to work with back in Bridgeport, man. He said, because I'll get you a group from this booking agency in New York City, which didn't happen.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so when I said, he said to me, where's your group? I said, what do you mean, where's my group? And so that's what led to the guys going on the road with the record.
Well, tell me about the recording session itself. I mean, one of the rumors I hear is that this was a one take, that you actually did the song in one take, and that's what we wound up with?
Well, Kiss 'Em Goodbye was written actually a few years before, and it was called Kiss 'Em Goodbye, and it was a shuffle, blues shuffle. So it didn't have the chant. The chant was born that night in the studio. We went in about 7 o'clock that night at Mercury, and I had another side that I had cut called Sugar, written by Neil Sedaka, and that's the drum track. It was an 8-bar drum loop, and then a piano was overdubbed on it, and organ was overdubbed on it, and I played percussion on a board, and there's no guitar on it, there's no bass on it. And then when we ran over the track, I was standing at the piano with Paul. Paul had the entire hook with all na-nas on it, you know, na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na, goodbye. So I threw the hey-hays in as we were going through it, and it stuck and it worked.
Wow. And of
By
course,
5 o'clock in the morning, it was done just the way you hear it on the radio.
Wow.
You know, it just had to be mastered, that's it.
Well, why don't we take a second here and listen to the original version of Steam and na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na, hey, hey, goodbye. Here comes Gary DeCarlo and Steam. Na-na-na-na, hey, hey, goodbye. It's a good thing that I can turn my microphone off, Gary, because I think I would be trying to sing this thing. And I couldn't do the song the justice that you did it back in the day. Oh, it's interesting because a lot of people over the years know this song because it gets played at basketball games when the home team is just clearing out the away team. And back in the 70s, University of South Carolina here in Columbia had a nationally ranked team with Coach Frank McGuire and all that kind of stuff. And, of course, we heard that in the Coliseum, the new Coliseum back in those days, na-na-na-na, hey, hey, goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. Back in 78, the organ player for the Chicago White Sox had the sheet music on her organ, and she started playing it, and the entire stadium started to sing it, and that's kind of brought it back out into the people's minds, and it became a chant for everything: baseball, football, soccer. The only sport I haven't heard it played for is golf.
Oh, maybe Tiger will get it out there for you.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean, but they'd have to whisper it. They'd have to do it very softly.
Na. Yeah, I can hear that right now. You know, he's out there going, high-fiving the stand and everything. Yeah, that would be... Well,
yeah, that's what I mean. That's more of a laid-back sport.
Yeah. Despite the fact the song was kind of taken from you by the record producers and everything, you've remained active in the music business all this time.
Well, yeah. When I received a call from Frank DeLuca, who books act for T.J. Lubinsky, and he asked me if I would come and do a show there in Pittsburgh, and I said absolutely. So I went there. And it was a great weekend, man. It was an entire weekend. They brought in like 59 acts, and and then they edited them together because people's schedules, didn't allow them sometimes to be on the same show the same night that it was being taped. So it turned out great for me, and I have to thank T.J. Lubinsky, obviously, which I already have many times. But he's a cool guy, nice guy, and he looks out for the people in the business that got burned, and that's one of the things that is really cool. But that being said, man, it made people realize that was me.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people that didn't know that. Most people are just aware of the video that they see with the road group and feel that was me, because everyone will say to me, they'll look at the album and they'll say, "Which one is you?" I say, "Wait a minute, man, I'm on the back." Got this little picture of me on the back, and that was another thing that was confusing because I sang under the name of Garrett Scott at the time, and my real name is Gary DeCarlo. So what they did was they said they wanted to thank Gary DeCarlo and Garrett Scott, so people thought that they were two people rather than one.
Oh, my goodness. What a mess.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was a total mess, man. So, thank God for me being on TJ's show. It turned out to be a great show. Davy Jones and Peter Noonan were the co-hosts, and right after that, Davy Jones passed away, so that became one of their best-selling shows. And I was very happy not because of Davey, passing away, but I mean, that obviously helped because he was such a famous person. People really loved him.
And it kind of brought everybody together.
Yeah. And we, I went on from there, and I've done some pretty nice things. I've been at the Monkey Convention. I've been at the Chiller Theater Convention. I had a show here in Bridgeport with my band at the time, at the Downtown Cabaret. I just did a show in New York City for the Beatles anniversary, which was pretty nice too. And I did a benefit for Sonny Geraci in Ohio about 2 months ago.
How's Sonny doing? Have you heard anything lately?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, a friend, Ron Scala, had an auction for Sonny. And, I talked to him on the air, and we sent pictures, autographed pictures and stuff for him to auction. And he said that Sonny was on the phone talking with him, and he said that he sounded very good. So that's a good sign.
It's kind of interesting because when I think of you and I think of Sonny, there's a very similar kind of thing here going on in my mind. And that is, Sonny had such a different sound with the different bands he was in over the days. Yeah. He was with the Outsiders with Time Won't Let Me, and then Precious Few with Climax. And the two sound totally different. Which brings me to your new re-release or new re-recording of Na 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 Na.
I'm trying to have it be right alongside of it.
That's exactly where it's going to wind up being. So
I hope so.
I think we tease the audience. Let's give them a listen to the new version. You don't call it a re-recording. What do you call it? A new mix or?
Yeah. I just call it it's a remake actually, but I just call it "Kiss 'Em Goodbye."
Okay, let's listen. Let's listen to "Kiss 'Em Goodbye," and we'll be back with Gary in just a minute. Boy, I got to tell you, Gary, this thing rocks.
Thank you, man. I was so happy when I first laid it out with my keyboard. I said, man, I really like this. And then when I got that's my guitar player and my bass player on there with me,
Oh, yeah.
And they rocked it, man. So I said, yeah, this is a great pocket. And I just like the way it works. It seems like it just fell together instantly. Yeah,
and the key change for this thing from the original song from a major to a minor key, I think is kind of interesting too, because I mean, minor keys were anathema back in the day, but I'm telling you, this thing,
you're right.
This thing is great.
Thank you.
Wow. So, Gary, where can they get this song? I know there's going to be a demand for it.
iTunes. And there's also a video of it on YouTube.
By the way, and you haven't seen the video, you need to do that.
Yeah, you just go on, either punch in my name or punch in "Kiss 'Em Goodbye," and it should come up. Just look for an old black Lincoln with me sitting on the trunk in front of the Savoy Hotel, a rundown hotel. It's great, man. I love it.
Gotta love rock and roll, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, Gary, for coming on the air with us this morning and telling us.
Don't forget my fan page.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead and get a link to the fan page there.
I don't have the link.
Oh.
But you just go on. I guess it's on Facebook and, Gary DeCarlo fan page. I don't know.
And if you're connected to me on Facebook.
You have to understand here, they're dragging me into the 21st century.
Screaming and yelling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're connected to me on Facebook, you can find Gary in my friends list, and it's DeCarlo, Gary DeCarlo, and Steam. Boy, I'm telling you what.
Man.
Gary, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you sometime real soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you so much, man. Take care.